Oh, the easy answer, it's not an easy choice for me. It still isn't. People are assuming that because I'm a Latina woman that, oh, I'm going to be excited about her. And it's not that easy for me because I worry about character. We had somebody that was the right hand of somebody that was not healthy who was silent about it. And that concerns me.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this clip that is just too good not to share, okay? Because I think it embodies exactly what is happening on the left side of the aisle when it comes to this astroturfed campaign to promote Kamala Harris as a competent politician that everybody has always liked, and she's just so amazing. Well, the idea is that they're playing off of people's ignorance, all right? And this is why they want to erase history so bad. It's because when voters are actually informed on Kamala Harris's radical left policy positions, a lot of people are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sign up for this, right? Especially so-called people of color, because in 2024, so-called people of color has realized that, hey, maybe it's not best to vote for people based off skin color and race. And maybe, just maybe, I should consider policy, because policy is what actually matters. However, unfortunately, this is kind of what you get with democracy. You have individuals who really don't care about policy. All they care about is skin color and race. They have no idea that the policies that they are supporting are actually going to hurt them, because again, they really didn't care about the policies in the first place. They were voting for the individual because of things that have nothing to do with what actually really matters. And that has severe consequences. Just ask the black voters in Chicago about what they're going through with Mayor Brandon Johnson, who they voted for because he's black, okay? But they didn't realize that, hey, his policies aren't good for Chicago or black people, okay, despite him being black, okay? Skin color and race has nothing to do with policy, okay? But unfortunately, we do have people in this country who are lining up to vote for Kamala Harris simply because she's a black woman. And in this clip, you have Anton Daniels, who I am a fan of. Okay, I watch his content. I consume his content every now and then. He is going to school one of these liberal black women who admit that, hey, I am just voting for Kamala Harris because she's a black woman. And I want to talk about it, but before I get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Morgan & Morgan. Guys, I've been injured in a motor vehicle accident. You've probably been injured in a motor vehicle accident, or somebody that you know, okay? We all have somebody that we know, whether it be ourselves or somebody else, that has been injured. And sometimes that injury can be worth millions of dollars. And this is why the sponsor of today's video is Morgan & Morgan, who wants to let you know that they do not settle for lowball offers, because oftentimes that is exactly what insurance companies try to do to clients. But Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you what you deserve if you become their client. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They have won a lot, and it only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case. And as America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan is ready and prepared to take on insurance companies of every size. If you are in an accident or injured in any way, you should know how to protect your rights. Don't overthink it. Take actions to protect your rights today. For example, they have achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. They had a $12 million settlement out in Florida, 34 times the insurance offer, and $26 million out in Philadelphia, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And the best part is that the fee is absolutely free unless you win. If you've ever got seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you are just a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. And it is so easy. You can start your claim today with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/blackconservative, which is the special link in the description, or you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen in order to get started.
Vote for? Let me ask you a question. Would you vote for?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm going to just be real honest with this. She's a black woman.
Yeah.
They skin folk, not Kim folk.
I think it goes back to what somebody was saying, where it's not voting for someone, but majority will vote for somebody else just.
Hold on. Let me mind this out.
I think majority.
Is it only because she a black woman?
Yeah.
do you not see how that's a bad idea?
Elaborate.
Okay, so we're in 3 proxy wars with some of the most powerful leaders in the world. She failed at the border, in which we have an estimation of 15 to 20 million people illegally into this country. That is literally overtaking and bankrupting Chicago to the tune of over $400 million per year, and they're in a deficit. Oakland is going out of business. San Francisco, ditto. California, $65 billion deficit. New York, they're literally cutting trash, in which they are the rattiest, dirtiest city, and they've taken up resources as far as free healthcare, free hotels to the tune of $600 a day. They're literally taking over your schools. Your taxpayer dollars are going to fund the migrant crisis. She was supposed to be in charge of this. We have a failing economy. Every single day I see people getting on the internet talking about $30 an hour is the new minimum wage, because inflation is fucking out of control. At one point, it was at almost 10%, depending on what city that you in. She has no policy, no record to stand on. One of the biggest things that she did in her career was lock up more black men than ever before. But we sitting here and vote her in office on identity politics. The very person that she was under as far as the president of the United States of America, she called him racist during a debate, which shows you how fake she is. And the only thing that we can stand on from a policy perspective is whether or not she's black and she's a woman. We did that during the Obama administration, and he didn't do anything for black people. As a matter of fact, y'all complain because the only person that he did, or the only group of people that he really stood for, is the alphabet community, and that's his landmark thing that he's still standing on today. So the only thing that we have to stand on is identity politics. That shit didn't work with Tiffany Henyard in Dayton, Illinois. It didn't work with Karen Bass. It didn't work with Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. It didn't work with Brandon Johnson that then took over her position in Chicago. It didn't work with Andre Dickens in Atlanta. It didn't work with Eric Adams in New York. It doesn't work across the country. Every single Democratic city is a hellhole. And we sitting here talking about identity politics?
Yeah, so shout out to Anton Daniels, because he just did exactly what we need to see more of: men getting women in line when it comes to voting in politics, and not the other way around, right? We see too much of the opposite, which is women trying to educate men on who to vote for, when it actually should be men who are educating women on the policies and what's going on, because these women are not voting using their logic and reason, right? They're not voting based off policy. They're voting based off emotions and feelings, right? This is why she couldn't come up with a reason for voting for Kamala Harris outside of, well, she's a black woman, so I'm going to vote for her, right? And that's exactly what Democrats want. This is what Democrats thrive off of. This is why they're not talking about policy. Every so-called endorsement Kamala Harris has gotten, nobody has said, well, I'm endorsing Kamala Harris because of a specific policy, right? Or some agenda that she's really trying to pursue, okay? Because they know that Kamala Harris, from a policy perspective, is a radical lunatic, okay? And nobody can stand behind her radical policy positions. And again, this is why they don't want to talk about it. They want to make sure voters are just like that woman right there, okay? Who are ignorant, who don't know what's going on, who are just voting for somebody because they see them as, I don't know, their spirit animal or something, right? Oh, she's a black woman just like me, right? I have to vote for her. This is how you got Brandon Johnson. This is how you got all of these so-called black mayors in these liberal cities running these cities into the ground. Because people are not voting based off policies. They're voting based off emotions and feelings and skin color and gender and sexuality and a bunch of things that have nothing to do with actually getting the job done. And then these same people are the main people boohoo, whining, and crying, complaining when they are a victim of the terrible policies that they voted for. Again, it's amazing how that works. But the good news is that there's signs here, based off the polling, that black people aren't falling for the okie doke. At least a significant amount of black people, significant enough to affect the outcome of the election. Because if the election were held today, the polls suggest that Kamala Harris would only get about 80% of the black vote, which would be an epic disaster for a so-called black candidate and a Democrat, right? And there's a lot of proof and evidence that black people, again, are waking up and saying, you know what, we're done with Democrats. We're done with racial identity politics. We're voting based on policy and not emotions.
President Harris has made her first speech as the presidential nominee. She spoke with President Biden on the phone while she thanked volunteers for their long hours of work on behalf of the Democratic nominees. She says it's her intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win. Well, Harris is the talk of the town, especially here in California, where her political career began. Fox 11's Laura Diaz is live in Inglewood. Laura?
Well, Christine, if Democrats are to win, they will heavily reside on the shoulders of the black community. So today we went out and we spoke to people, everything from people who were talking to us on the streets to private Zoom meetings that were held, and plans were being made.
And we are going to win.
A minority woman is being president because she has the ability and is capable of doing whatever she has to do to make the United States better than what it is.
But I wish again, no policy whatsoever. Ask anybody vote for Kamala. Why you vote for Kamala? I guarantee you, they can't give you any policy.
Better than what it is.
What I wish we would get away from is the speech about color. It should be about your character and what are you doing for our people.
From the streets of Crenshaw off the air.
Radio Free 102.3 KJLH.
To radio station KJLH in Inglewood on the air.
Enter stage left, Kamala Harris.
Come on. Kamala Harris as presumptive Democratic nominee for president was all the talk.
Plot twist!
Plot twist.
Plot twist! Plot twist!
Popular radio DJ Tammy Mack fielded calls during her afternoon drive show. A cross-section of people calling in with opinions of Harris and her likely history-making run as president. The airwaves lighting up.
I am done with the Democratic Party. They need to learn to put the country and the people first.
Everywhere I went, a lot of chatter about this mysterious Zoom call. Thousands of women zoomed in a movement called Win with Black Women. Our DJ and caller knew all about it.
Zoom call that happened with over 44,000 black women last night.
We have time for divisiveness. We have got to get her in there.
Back to that highly attended Zoom call, I'm told that it included a lot of heavy hitters who were invited to it. But when I tried to drill down and get more information, I was told that people have been told not to talk about the meeting, that they're still trying to figure the details out for their plans. But 44,000 women, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, except it's made up, right? I'm very skeptical of these huge Zoom calls with all of these people showing up and supporting Kamala Harris, right? Sounds very sketch to me, right? And first and foremost, I find it extremely hard to believe that these people could get 40, 50, 60,000 people on a Zoom call without it crashing, right? I'm just saying, right? I find it very, very, very hard to believe. Also, on top of that, when you ask for more specific information about the Zoom call and some actual proof and evidence that they had that many people on the Zoom call, doesn't really seem to be that much of it, right? And from what I've seen out of the Zoom calls, once again, they're not discussing policy. They're discussing emotions and feelings, okay? And apparently they're trying to racialize the Zoom calls because now they are doing white women for Kamala Zoom calls.
I mean, last night more than 100,000 women participated in what was described as a, quote, white women for Harris call. That's what they are calling it. That's not what I am calling it on Zoom. A number so staggering that it apparently broke the call. Let's listen to a little bit. There were some celebrities on it. Let's listen.
White women, this is our opportunity to show up not only for ourselves, but for Black women. They've given us the whole playbook on how to show up and energize and be organized.
I'm just really grateful that us women are going to have a voice, and we've always made our voices heard. And now it's time to just get extra loud.
Interesting. White women. I mean, here we are. I have to admit, when I was writing stuff down, I was like, Karens for Kamala? I don't know.
We're all laughing there because it's okay. They're just having fun there. But Chuck, you were at the VP's house yesterday where she honored the Latino community. So there was this very determined outreach to the various constituencies of the Democratic, just coalescing it behind Kamala Harris. And I mean, I think we could all agree, Jeff, Karen, if you were to say, was the Democratic Party going to coalesce around Kamala Harris in this fashion in just a short period of time that we've seen, you would have said, no way, that's crazy. But that is what has happened this past week.
And it's very... No, what has actually happened is that the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party have worked in lockstep to create the illusion that people are rallying around Kamala Harris, okay? Nobody's rallying around Kamala Harris except the media and the Democrats. That's it, right? Regular, normal, everyday people. Nobody's excited about Kamala except the people who probably shouldn't be voting anyways because they vote based off identity politics and not policy, right? Maybe those people, maybe those idiots, maybe they are excited and they're rallying around her, okay, because, hey, we get to vote for a so-called woman of color. We don't have to vote for a white man. Okay, fine. But again, I don't think those people should actually be voting in the first place, right? To be quite honest with you. But here we are, right? This is the downside of so-called democracy, is that you have people who vote based off stupid things like white guilt, right? Which seems to be what those women have in that call. Oh, it's white women. We got to show up for the black women, right? The same black women that will more than happily throw your ass under the bus as soon as you cross them with any type of microaggression. The first thing they'll be doing is saying that you're racist. But you know what? Hey, I kind of understand the liberal white woman and why they're so excited about Kamala, because they can throw people like Kamala out there to push the white liberal agenda, right? This is, again, what people like Kamala Harris are most useful for, right? She's a tool for the agenda of white liberals, okay? And this is why they line up and they get behind it, despite the fact that, again, it seems as if a lot of these liberal black women that they claim they support so much don't really like white women like that, right? But white women are supporting them because, again, they have brainwashed a lot of these black women into pushing their agenda, right? So it's kind of like, hey, it is what it is. You guys cannot like us, but you're pushing our policies, right? And that's exactly what Kamala Harris is doing. That's exactly what she's doing, right? And again, I'm glad that some people are waking up to this and realizing that, yeah, Kamala Harris's policies, like, for example, her open borders policy, is not good for America. And it's also not good for black folks, right? Look at what's happening in Chicago. Look at what's happening in these liberal cities. You have black people revolting against this, okay? These illegals coming to this country are diluting so-called black power. But yet again, these so-called pro-blacky blacks, okay, the black liberals will come out and say, vote for Kamala or else you're not black or you're not supporting black folks. And it's like, well, again, I'm trying to figure out what's pro-black about illegal immigration, right? I'm not entirely sure. They're diluting the so-called black vote. They're diluting so-called black economic opportunities, right? They're diluting so-called black resources. They're diluting all these things. But again, you're not black if you don't vote for it, okay? You aren't really a black person if you don't support policies that aren't good for America and aren't good for black folks. It's just funny how that works. It's crazy the world that we live in, man. The propaganda is strong, and the reason why it's so strong is because, unfortunately, it works. But I'm hoping in this election cycle that people wake up and they realize what is going on, that Kamala Harris is a Trojan horse for more bad policies that are going to hurt this country, that are going to destroy this country. I'm just praying that people can see it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.